I guess Bucky's probably the only one who's actually B-list. I would say that the rest of them are even kind of C-list in the grand scheme of things. Like, normies don't recognize these people outside of this movie. So, like, yeah, this is not exactly the Avengers that anyone is going to lay claim to. The actual movie itself, let's talk about the movie itself. First and foremost, I do want to say I had fun with the movie. There is some stuff in there that feels, spoiler alert as well, if you haven't seen it and you care about such things, why are you watching this video? But that out of the way, I think there's certain elements of this movie that shows that they obviously realize that they need to course correct. Are they enough of a course correct to move forward with? Maybe. Probably not, but there's just the very first signs in the actual films that we watch that these course corrections are happening. Most namely, we have... Can I get to... Let's play with the new toy. I got a new toy in OBS. Oh, we're using the wrong tool. Nope. Brush. Okay. All right. So very, very specifically, let's make this bigger. Very specifically, if you look at the balance on here, you'll see... First and foremost, Taskmaster, there's a reason why Taskmaster's mask is on in all of the promos, and nobody else who wears a mask is wearing their mask in any of the promos. Red Guardian, what is his name? Agent, I can't think of his name. And Ghost as well. Where is she? Ghost right there. Wee, Ghost. So those three characters wear masks. It's gonna drive me, his freaking name is gonna drive me crazy. Agent, US agent, is that right? They're not wearing their masks. Taskmaster is wearing her mask because that is all you really see of her. She dies in the very beginning of the movie. And nobody cares. Like, even if you care about spoilers, if I were to tell you that, you're not going to care because A, it happens, like I said, in the very beginning of the movie, and B, like, that's not really Taskmaster. That's not the character that we know from the comic books. So the other also what we're looking at here, I'm going to get this squared a little bit better so we can see it. But if you look at the team, you see that we have Yelena and Ghost and Taskmaster, that's the females. And then we have Bucky, US Agent, and the Red Guardian are males. So we have a balanced team, which is a little bit of something as far as genders go, but they don't sidestep any of the male characters in order to highlight any of the female characters. Yelena is definitely the focus of this movie. She is the lead, if you will, which is fine because they have already established her in previous movies as, you know, you've seen her struggle. Little bit of Mary Sue, but really not at all. Like to such a minor degree that it's definitely forgivable. I think we should pull up trailer. Let's pull up the trailer, shall we? Let's set this back down to 70, and then we go to here, and we go to here. Thunderbolts Marvel trailer. And we will just set this to loop, shall we? Okay, let's get back to the discussion. Anyway, so I just lost my train of thought. Oh yeah. So we have a balanced team. We still have a female lead, which again is whatever because it works. The thing that really doesn't work is what they do with Sentry. They spend half of the movie building up to some mysterious reveal, which really, if you've read the books and you see the introduction of Bob, then you're like, oh, I get it. Okay, he's going to be Sentry, isn't he? And then you see the Sentry logo and you see Project Sentry and blah, blah, blah. So it really doesn't come as much of a surprise as maybe they were thinking it was going to, but again, all forgivable things. The thing that's kind of unforgivable about this is what they finally do with Sentry. Once he becomes aware of his powers and his abilities, like, first of all, it kind of happens instantaneously. You have one scene where he finds out he has powers, which is before the Sentry reveal. Then you get the Sentry reveal like 3 or 4 scenes later, and all you get for character development between there is one scene where what's her name, Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character is offering to teach him how to use his abilities. But this is all the span in movie is all roughly the span of maybe a couple of days, but it feels like it's all the same day. Like there's no dialogue that separates anything. There's no montage that gives you any sort of feel of the passage of time. There's no anything that makes it apparent that any sort of significant amount of time has passed. So at the very most, there were a couple of days where he's learning how to use his powers, and then he's just all-powerful Sentry, which was really cool to see in the movie, to see Sentry like you would think a live-action version of Sentry would be for a scene. Literally a scene. They activate the kill switch in his head, and the darkness takes over, and then he becomes Void. All of these things could have taken up a movie, or at least a subplot for a couple. 2 of these could have been subplots in a movie unto themselves, or a movie unto themselves, and it would have worked much, much better. Building up to creating Sentry as this new villain would have been one movie. By the end of that movie, you see that he is basically a god, and hit the kill switch, and that's how the movie ends. And then in the next movie, we see that the kill switch doesn't kill him. It just does something to unlock the void that they alluded to in the previous movie, at the beginning of the previous movie, which was also rather heavy-handed, but again, forgivable until you get to the Sentry scene. And then the whole second movie is them figuring out what the hell Void is, that it is actually Sentry, and then how to defeat Void. So you could have had an action sequence at the end of the first movie with them battling Sentry, and then you could have had the psychological sequence that we actually got at the end of the Thunderbolts movie, at the end of the second movie to defeat Void. Would have worked so much better. What we got was all of that in not even just one movie, but all of that in 2 scenes. I guess we could probably call it maybe 3 or 4 scenes, but the Sentry, all of the Sentry stuff happens in one scene. And then the Void, you get an introductory scene to who the Void is. You see how he's affecting New York City and potentially going to spread past that. And then you see them inside his head because Yelena steps into the Shadow Realm. And also, I don't understand why it's so confusing for some people, because, again, watching the Nerd Vengers, Josh from the Den of Nerds, watching him discuss, like, the confusing bits of the movie. I didn't know that was confusing. Like, these movies are made for normies. They're kind of spoon feeding you everything that they want you to know, in that there is a brief moment where we think Void might be killing basically everybody who comes into contact with the dark essence of who Void is, or what Void is, I guess, because he's just ghosting people, turning them into shadows, and then those shadows kind of start to drift away. So we're thinking that he's killing people, and then you see him do it to a little girl, and she becomes a shadow and drifts away, and you go, wait a minute, is this just really dark? Did Disney go super dark? And then you see Yelena step into the Shadow Realm and go, nope, none of these people are dead. As soon as she does that, you know that is not the case. So what is actually the case, the reveal instantaneously after she steps in, well, maybe not instantaneously, there's a little bit of dialogue between the other Thunderbolts as to what Yelena just did. Did she commit suicide? Is she going into some sort of alternate universe? They're debating these things, and then it cuts to her inside of a house where Bob is, and she starts talking to Bob, and Bob acknowledges that there is a different presence known as the Void that is controlling his body, right? So we were going somewhere with that, and then my ADD just totally derailed the conversation. But yeah, so we get the psychological thing, because the whole time we get this, we're talking about confusing, right? So why is this confusing? They give us that Bob is not mentally healthy. He joined the program the Sentry program that created him as Sentry. He joined the program, and when they did his psychological evaluation, they noted that he has delusions of grandeur, he has memory loss, he has a number of things wrong. I think one of those things might have even been a certain element of schizophrenia, if I'm remembering correctly. I wasn't taking notes in the movie because that's rude, so I don't remember that explicitly, but there's a laundry list of like psychological issues that he has. So when you amplify those by making him into the Sentry, it's going to get worse. So where the confusion comes from as to why he lost his memory, like they kind of planted that seed at the beginning of the middle of the movie. Why he lost his memory after they come out of it, why his mental state fractured when he got this power, because you just gave a super mentally unstable person the powers of a god. That's going to mess somebody's brain up, specifically somebody with these mental ailments. And the only thing I think that was confusing even slightly was, is he actually killing all of these people? But then again, once you see him do it to a little girl, you know for a fact that he is not killing all of these people. So yeah, I don't know why that was so confusing, and it was really cool to see the struggle. Going back to good things about the movie, it's really cool to see the struggle while they're inside his head, because eventually the other Thunderbolts join inside his head, or inside the alternate universe where Bob is battling with Void. It's really cool to see all of the sudden Bob starts to kind of sort of gain control of his consciousness again while he's battling Void, but then he's legitimately battling, like physically fighting this entity, and that's what the entity wants. So he is getting sucked into Void, and he's, the emotional payoff of "you're not alone" and all of these things that they're kind of setting up throughout the course of the movie of all of these characters are lone wolf characters. They do all of these things by themselves, but now they're a team. So like all of the subplots kind of rise to the surface here. And when they come out of it, when he defeats Void, he loses his memory. Again, something that they kind of planted the seeds for. So I feel like at this point, I'm kind of rambling. Again, I still had fun. I still think it's worth a watch. It's hard to justify a $20 movie ticket, though, for it. So I mean, if you can get it at a discount theater, that's going to be the best way. I do think it's worth it to see it on a big screen, because just usually that's a better cinema going experience anyway. But again, if it's IMAX, I feel like that's not necessarily a thing that needs to happen for this movie. Or even the XD theaters at the Cinemarks, like that's kind of an expensive ticket as well that I couldn't justify the price tag for. If you can get in for $10 or less, that would be an ideal price tag for this movie. But I do think that seeing it in the theaters will be cathartic. We'll definitely have a good payoff for a good number of people. It's a fun movie. The final conflict could have been stretched out a little bit longer. I honestly could have been stretched out for a whole nother movie, but we've already discussed that. So yeah, I would say medium recommend. I think it's a fun movie to see in theaters, but not at full price. Where else are we going for this episode? Oh, also, before we step away from this, speaking of the post-credit scene, let's talk about the post-credit scene for Thunderbolts. Post-credit scene was not filmed, was not shot by the director of the rest of the movie. It was shot on set for Avengers Doomsday. And the build-up, the first half of the scene is kind of pointless. Like, they are kind of setting the stage for maybe something to happen as far as like subplot shenanigans going forward in the Avengers movies between Sam and Bucky, but that again kind of is fairly irrelevant to the major plot points that are heading our direction. The big reveal is the Fantastic Four spaceship coming into it. It's recognized by the computer as an interdimensional ship. So it's coming from another dimension. It's coming from another multiverse, if you will, coming from somewhere else in the multiverse. And the implication of what the hell that means is kind of cool to think about, because it's almost confirming a lot of the rumors that we've been talking about on the channel, because we know that by the end of, new rumor that has developed since we did our last proper episode for the Fantastic Four movie is that the Fantastic Four movie will end on a happy note. It's not going to end with the demise of their planet, though the demise of their planet that they're living on, their version of Earth, is still in the cards. It's just going to happen in a different movie, potentially off screen to a certain degree, and then they're going to travel the multiverse to get to a viable universe, the 616 apparently, as evidenced by this end screen of the post-credit scene here. So really cool there. It doesn't really reveal much else, but there are a couple of other implications that I feel like other people have gotten into much better than I. So if you go check out the Den of Nerds, Josh does some really good breakdowns of the rumors over there. He's actually one of the reporters that I get sources from when sourcing for the show. So yeah, that's the post-credit scene. I think is the only thing that really has greater implications outside of this movie. And I kind of don't know how I feel about that yet. So I don't think it's great, but I just don't know how bad it really is.
Thank you very much, nerds, for tuning in. If you want to level up your nerdy, geeky, pop culture knowledge, then don't forget to subscribe and do all of the things. Go check out the main channel, Generally Nerdy, for the larger portion. Again, you get all of these sections into one convenient video over on Generally Nerdy. The name of the show is The Week in Nerddom. Thank you for checking out this clip. We will see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.